All right. You guys are getting used to this by now, right? No big deal. This is what the Texans do. They're 4-1. Let me check. Sean Pendergast reminded me beforehand. Let's see. 11-3 in one-score games. Hasn't lost one. This is under N'Keal Ryans. Haven't lost one since week 12 of 2023. The crossbar doink by Matt Amendola. This team they have a knack for getting it done when it seemingly should not be done. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video. CJ Stroud spoke today after his victory, after a victory in which CJ Stroud made a couple of uncharacteristic errors at the end of the game. And both in the form of penalty, he had an interception in the second half. He had a turnover that was reminiscent almost of his first game his rookie year. And yet he came back, and the Texans end up winning 23-20. More importantly to yours truly, they covered. They covered for the first one-score games. I don't give a damn. They covered the damn spread. I didn't even bet on the Texans to win. I bet on them or at -1. I took the under because I thought the game was kind of going to go like this. I thought these are two bend but don't break defenses that allowed drives but then came up to stop drives. The Texans defense, which I'll talk more about when we get to D'Amico's press conference, man, boy, they get bludgeoned in the run game, and yet at the same time they come up and make big plays. Likewise with CJ Stroud. Right now, if you go to BetUS, you can get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, then 125% bonuses on your second and third deposit, all the way up to $2,000. Very easy. They get you your own personal account manager. They've got very, very fast payouts. And thank you to BetUS again. Here is CJ talking about what was different in the second half when the offense slowed down.
First of all, I just want to give all glory and praise to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Just a great opportunity, to play against a really, really, really tough Buffalo Bills team. But yeah, the first half, went really well. We're moving the ball like we wanted, running the ball. In the second half, man, we weren't not moving the ball. We were just shooting ourselves in the foot again, just taking penalties. I missed a couple reads on my throws, and, had the turnover, the two turnovers. So, when you play like that, you give them opportunity to come back. And they made some adjustments, started taking away a lot of our passing. But at the same time, they weren't taking away everything. I got to be better and just get through my progressions. But all in all, you learn with a dub, and that's the most important thing about it.
Okay, so let me get him up here. Again, this kind of common theme of, hey, they're driving the ball all right, but then they make mistakes, self-inflicted wounds. Hadn't had any penalties in the first half. We all said it and tweeted about it, and then stupid penalty. Some stupid penalties, some all right, I understand Petrie getting flagged for the illegal hit on Josh Allen. That was one of those things where there was zero intent involved, but they're going to call it every time. The Dalton Schultz, I'll get into a story at the end about the same. I did the exact same thing as Dalton Schultz did and gotten unsportsmanlike and fined for it back in the day with zero intent to it. The defensive holding, I thought was sketchy. In the third quarter, remember, they opened up with a field goal drive. Nice drive, 8 plays. Then they punted. That came just after there was a penalty on Ogunbowale that took him from 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 8, but you can't blame that completely on the penalties. They punted after it was a 3 and out. CJ had scrambled up. Was there a penalty on that one? Yes, there was on Kenyon Green for an ineligible man downfield. The interception where the player, I'm blanking on his name right now, the Bills defender, he did a really good job kind of having that and making the read unclear. And I think CJ thought Stefan Diggs was going to sit, and Stefan Diggs extended, but I don't think that's Diggs' fault necessarily. I think the defender did a really good job, but that's what this defense does. They do a really good job of making things look murky. And Sean McDermott, to his credit, is doing things offensively and defensively with a different set of characters than he had last year. This one, speaking of the different set of characters, what did it mean to Stefan Diggs, or what did it mean to you guys to be able to give Stefan Diggs this victory over his old team?
Huge, man. I know he was, he really didn't say nothing all week, but I know today he was a little emotional, just we wanted to, just play well against him, being his former team, which, everybody, just like we played JG last year, a couple weeks ago. So, it's a lot of, emotions that go through that, but he did a good job by just not letting his emotions affect his play, and really I thought he played really great, was really sound, and I thought he played amazing. So definitely just happy that, he's happy with his dub.
So Stefan Diggs, I mean, did a lot of what we've seen all year. Like he's not going to take the top off defenses, especially the way they're playing right now. Nico's really only the antidote to all this cover 2 and cover 6 and deep zones that they're showing. Stefan Diggs, 6 receptions for 82 yards, 13.7 yards per reception. That's an uptick. He's been averaging about 9.5, 9.9, somewhere in there. So he was able to, I think, partly when it's him and Dell on the field, those guys become more vertical threats. I know there's going to be a lot of discussion about Bobby Slowick this week, and rightfully so, as I almost damn right wanted to throw him a parade for his dissertation he gave on the importance of the run game. And yet, man, even though the run game was setting up the passing, and even though you got to run Dare if you want him to be a receiving threat, my God, it's laborious. It's so bad right now. And they're 4-1. They're 4-1. But man, you're not going to go deep into the playoffs if you're running with this frequency this poorly. So they either got to figure out the run game, or that at some point you got to go into more of a let CJ cook mode. But my God, it's rough to watch. Stefan Diggs, thing I like today, did you notice he was really he was not going to fumble the ball versus the Bills. He was not going to be the guy that screwed it up, and like he had textbook ball security every time he caught the ball. He was like the way tight ends a lot of times run when tight ends who aren't the athletes that Stefan Diggs are, and they just kind of Flintstone their way through traffic. Stefan Diggs was doing that. That was nice to see. Next question for CJ was, is there a trust factor that Kymie Fairbairn can do whatever it takes? This is interesting because CJ gives credit to Kymie, but then very quickly leaps to another part that you could tell was present in his brain.
I wouldn't say that. We trust him if we are in that position, but we try to put him in the.
And to make that answer clear, it was something along the lines of like, almost like, do you feel like, okay, you're all right even if a drive does stall out?
The best opportunity possible, especially I hold myself, to a high standard when it comes to that, and that intentional grounding was, I had no idea why I get it, I guess. I mean, that wasn't necessarily abrupt. Like, I don't think it was that aggressive that I didn't throw it like to anybody. But at the same time, I do understand. Is what it is, still got the win. I thought Rob did a great job on the punt returns, getting us something, and then me and Dare just finding a play to get 4 or 5 yards and then bang a timeout. I thought that was huge, man. So it's not all about, one thing about me, I don't try to ride the roller coaster. I know everybody was coming to me like trying to juice me up, but honestly, I just try to stay calm, know that I made a mistake. But, it doesn't make me. I thought I played really solid other than those 2 plays, but when you got guys to lean on, like we talked about earlier in the week, just playing complimentary football, Kymie had my back. The defense had my back. My O-line had my back. Everybody had everybody's back. We had the defense back in the first half. Like, we all play complimentary football. A lot of great things are going to happen for this team.
I mean, if you go back to the fourth quarter there, and this is a really good experience for CJ to go through, because he does not turn the ball over a lot. Like every other quarterback, he gets lucky here and there, but he does not. Josh Allen got lucky as hell today, man. Aziz Al-Shire playing with either the flu or beriberi or scurvy. I don't know what he had, but he was sick. You could tell that first tackle that he missed early in the game that he just wasn't the same. And I don't know if you probably, sometimes when you're sick, you go into that zone where you just stop thinking, you get unconscious, and it actually ends up helping you, because he was making some plays sideline to sideline that early in the game I didn't think he was going to be capable of making. That's a whole nother story. Again, we'll talk about that with D'Amico, but man, this defensive front seven is, they only have 2 linebackers that they trust. They've got Henry To'oTo'o and Aziz Al-Shire, and there's some of the things in stopping the run that they're kind of limited on. But as far as CJ, you go back to the drive that started with 5 minutes and 50 seconds left. It was 20-17. Texans started off at the Houston 2. That's when I had pretty good 2019, remember? And I did not want it to get, I didn't want it at that. I did not want to be correct because 20-17, they were backed up on the 2. The Bills have been making plays in the backfield. And they end up on 2nd and 10. Stroud got sacked, fumbled the ball. Bills go down, kick a field goal. Next play, next series, they were in field goal range. It was 3rd and 5 at the Buffalo 39, well within Kaimi Fairbairn's range, and they chose to pass the ball. And at that point, all you got to do is run. This is going to be the 2 big game management decisions I wonder about today were, all right, why'd you pass there? And I know CJ doesn't think it should have been intentional grounding. I could go. I don't think the intent was there. I think he was trying real hard to make it look like a credible throw. Maybe if Dalton had extended his route a little bit or something. But I get why they called it. Knocks him out of field goal range. Last year in the Cincinnati game, when they passed and CJ threw an interception, I actually put that one more on CJ. Because CJ didn't have to make that throw. But this one, it really didn't make a lot of sense. I don't know. I understand being aggressive in that moment and everything, but I didn't get that at all. The other game management question I would have is just the play choice when they went for it on 4th and short in the first half. I haven't watched the TV copy yet, so I know a lot of people were saying they should have challenged the spot. They chose to go fast, and it worked for them on the goal line when they went fast last week, and they got the game-winning touchdown with Ogunbowale just going up and quick snapping it. Man, this is where I know Slowick wants to establish the run, but man, you guys are not that team. Like you're not gonna root out a good defense, even though the Bills aren't that great against the run when they're loaded up in the box. And man, I try to draw them off sides, do something, but I question that play call right there, especially the way the run game had been going at the time. Next question for CJ. You guys have some good questions on here too. I will get to them. I won't get to all the good questions because I have to hydrate. I haven't passed out once today. I haven't had a blow to the head in 2 days, which is good by the previous week's standard. What does the offense lose when Nico Collins leaves the game?
I think he's the best receiver in football, So, when he gets out the game, it definitely is tough on us. And a lot of things are, predicated towards him and planned for him. And, I definitely do think we still have a lot of other guys to step up too. So I thought they did a good job doing that. I thought Hutch played solid, and really, you got to just find a way to win. We did that today. So definitely hope Nico's okay, and just we can get him back as soon as possible. But I definitely know that we have a lot of depth in that room.
Hutchinson did step up, and then I'm gonna confess something to you people. I love those new uniforms, but in person at the game, I could not read the numbers for worth a damn. And I don't know if it was like that when you were watching on TV or not. Those are some badass unis, but I cannot read the numbers. And my vision is still good. That's not an old man thing. But other than that, so my question was, Schultz had a drop right after that one nice Xavier Hutchinson catch. But in my mind, I thought Xavier Hutchinson had a drop too. And just watching the highlights briefly, again, I can't tell the numbers quite. I wasn't looking with the I wasn't looking at the or I didn't have the audio on. But regardless, yeah, I think Hutchinson's going to have to step up. D'Amico said that Nico is day-to-day with a hamstring. He's dealt with this recently, and hopefully it's just something that's a little bit of a tweak, and they're being very careful with it. But my God, what a stud. Jeez. A couple of you had questions about getting Tank more involved. I do have questions about just why it seems like they should be able to hit crossers and overs and some of the quick passing game over the middle, especially versus the Bills. There's been a weakness of their defense over the middle more so than outside the numbers. And I don't know. And I don't know if it's because they're hesitant to expose the offensive line. So because they're chipping, because they're using guys in the backfield, it's harder to get guys out quickly. I don't know if it's because teams are showing all these simulated blitzes and CJ's just a little uncertain of all these guys dropping out. I'm going to show you a play when we're done here, since not all of you are into the film work stuff. One of the passes to Ogunbowale where I thought they dealt with the simulated blitz masterfully. And there are many examples of it. In terms of some of the questions about them getting into a rhythm, I think this is still a process of understanding and adjusting how teams are playing them defensively with the coverage shells, but then also with a lot of the simulated blitzes and a lot of the deception. Bill Belichick calls the Sean McDermott defenses a spin the dial. He's a spin the dial defensive coordinator. He switched things up in the second half. He switches things up from series to series, and he gets his guys to execute it well. So it's a hard defense to play against. CJ's faced some really good defenses lately. How does winning games like this help you guys move forward in terms of confidence, etc.?
Man, there's a ton of things I always learn from, and I always say, man, winning the NFL is not easy. So, of course, you're not looking at yourself like, dang, we were perfect. Clearly, we're not. But I mean, that's every week. There's always things you can clean up. Some things are more abrupt and more noticeable than others. But I feel like when you can find a way to find a win, man, like that shows you how much of a resilient team you are. So, man, you learn with a dub, and that's the best thing that you can do. So, man, I'm super just proud of my guys for just keep fighting and, just keep working, keep grinding, keep chopping wood, keep carrying water because it's not easy to play great 4 quarters of football. But, the more we can do that, I think everybody can tell, man, we're going to be a force to reckon with.
Keep chopping wood, keep carrying water, keep singing Van Morrison songs. David, this is a thing. I think everybody agrees with you. How they voice it and how they phrase it might be different, but I do think that the players and coaches, this is a common sentiment that we've heard. I mean, after last week's game, the locker room was described as almost morose after that victory last week because I think they understand that they're getting in their own way. So I don't know if that helps you feel any better, but the thing that I keep reminding myself, if you look at like today's game, all right, Kamari Lassiter, Kalen Bullock, those are really promising young players, and they're doing some really good things. But they're also scary as hell at times because they're young players. So not that the defense was an issue today, obviously. You hold a good team to 20 points, and even letting up as much as they did in the ground game, they came up with big plays at big moments. But it is still a team that's a work in progress. And when you talk about integrating free agents, when you try to get play out of your younger guys, I don't know if Will Anderson's ankle is still bothering him, but I mean, he was a presence today, especially on that last drive by the Bills where they're getting a lot of criticism for passing. The Texans had 3 timeouts, and I think a lot of people thought, all right, just run the ball, make the Texans use your timeouts. Maybe you get a first down, but you get out from back where you are and you don't give the Texans another chance to score. I mean, they needed a field goal at that point. If they thought Josh Allen could do it, I'd say maybe abandon your strategy after the first or second incomplete pass. But the reason I brought that up was that Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter had some really good pass rushes on those plays. And there were also other good rushes today where they got Josh Allen, and Josh Allen got outside. Some people have asked how much of a difference Nico Collins can make. I think aside from being a pass rusher himself, I think when Danico's on the inside and the quarterback, an athletic quarterback, gets flushed out, Danico moves really well in space. So Nico Collins, the defensive tackle has to come out and replace. If a defensive end takes an inside move, as a defensive tackle, you got to out of your peripheral see that and know that you got to replace the contain. And Fatukasi and Edwards do a good job of doing the right thing, but they're not the same type of athlete that Nico Collins is. So I think that part of it is going to yield sacks and hits on quarterback. And Josh Allen today ended up 9 for 30. It was the worst completion percentage in a performance with 30-plus passes in NFL history. So for 130 yards, it didn't look textbook the manner in which they did it, but they turned Josh Allen into an extremely inefficient quarterback. At one point early, I tweeted that it seemed unfair that they were facing Trevor Lawrence twice in a row in 2 weeks, and then I was really nervous after Josh had some good plays. So, talk about Darrell Ogunbowale. Somebody just instructed him. Do it. Talk about Darrell.
And, Dari playing great. Me and him have a great connection back there. There's times where, he's not supposed to really get the ball, but, he just shows up. I thought it was a very great heads-up play to get the first down, get down, make him burn a timeout. I don't think they had any timeouts at that point, and the clock just kept rolling. So I thought it was super cool just like to get him going once again. And, I think he's going to be a great addition to this team. I mean, he's been great since last year, kicking field goals. Like, he's really the all-appliance. Like, he does everything you ask him to do and does it with a smile on his face. So, man, and he's a brother, like somebody I'm really close to. I love him to death, a great guy. You got a baby on the way. I can just go on about Dari. I love Dari. So, playing big for us right now.
Yeah, look, Darrell Ogunbowale, 2.0 yards per carry as a runner, but awesome as a receiver. And then on that slide, man, he cut that close. There was a small window where he could start his slide, because remember they mark it where you start the slide. So he had to start the slide before he got out of bounds, but past the first down marker. So that was a really heads up play by Darrell. And the play I want to show, I'll do it after this question, but it's one of the Darrell Ogunbowale receptions. It was a really nice job by CJ, Darrell, Slowick. Stefan Diggs was in on it too. It's really good. So one more question, then I'll show that Darrell Ogunbowale play. What was your biggest takeaway from this game?
I mean, looking back, I got to watch the tape. I thought I played really good, took the completions, took my shots when they were there. I think you can always go back and be like, I want these 3 plays back, these 4 plays back. But I look at, myself in the mirror and know, like, man, I'm still that guy. Like, I'm still confident no matter what mistake I make. I'm still humble, learning from my mistakes. But, even in those moments, man, like, I'm still trying to, just uplift myself. So I would say that's what I kind of learned today was, like, man, no matter what, man, just trust yourself. And I feel like I did that, moving the ball up and down the field against a good defense. 43 made a heck of a play on that kind of okey doke to me. He played both. And he was making plays all before he got hurt. So, that was a great Bills defense. I thought McDermott changed up the calls in the second half a lot. But then you talk about Kaimi. He had my back, just like I have his back. Everybody has each other's back on this team. We all, this is one of the closest teams I've ever been on. So I definitely think that has to do with just getting the close dubs and having each other's back when it comes to that.
Yeah, Terrell Bernard, the number 43, really nice play on that by him. And he put CJ and Stefan in a spot where they both had reasons to make the reads they did, and they weren't on the same page, but it was because it was a good play by him. But it felt like a very uncharacteristic throw by CJ Stroud. This is the play that I want to show. First, let me get. I don't want to screw BetUS with some of this compliance stuff. I'm about to show some NFL footage. I got to be sure I get BetUS off of here. Very compliant. Seth Payne, the compliant one. That's what they always say. I'm going to present something. It's going to be Darrell Ogunbowale. All right. Here we go. Okay, so this play, first, let me let it run. 3rd and 5. Pressure in CJ's face. Darrell gets the first down. The cool thing about this was, aside from that little highlight of Dalton Schultz, I'm going to slow this down a little bit. You see the motion, Stefan Diggs going in motion down to the bottom. And you can see the cornerback and the safety make an adjustment. Cornerback pops out to Stefan Diggs. Darrell Ogunbowale goes to CJ's left. And now what you have is 3 potential receivers against 2 defenders. And whoever's likely responsible for Darrell is up doing that sim blitz where everybody's at the line of scrimmage. You don't know who's going to rush, who's going to drop out. And this is the kind of stuff that you got to do when you can't make the post-snap read because you don't know exactly what these guys are going to do. But they send Darrell out on a route. Whoever's responsible for Darrell is up engaging one of the guards or the centers to help the blitz come home. And when you do that, you leave a pocket, and now you've got 3-on-2 up top. And, Darrell, I think watching this, At first, I didn't know if Darrell was supposed to chip that dude before he left or if he was supposed to block him. But then I found out very quickly, CJ's just going to loft it up over Darrell. And it was just a good little thing. And then just to show you how, like, it's an impressive throw by CJ. But when you get to right here, by then CJ can tell that cornerback's going to be locked up on Stefan Diggs. So now he knows he's got Darrell. So now he can put some loft on it, and he makes the decision very, very quickly as that defensive end comes in unimpeded. So, like, these are the little things that I know it's frustrating when you're running Darrell and you're not getting anything out of it. And yet, if Darray's only in there as a receiver, look, he looks spry, he looks athletic, but he's not going to have that same potential or ability. That linebacker that was supposed to be covering him was gunked up on the line, running like hell out to try to get him. So they've shown evidence of it. They've shown that they can do it. They're just not doing it as consistently and as rhythmically, and part of that is just because they're not really running the ball effectively. Cam Akers did some nice stuff today. As much as the offensive line is to blame, a lot of it is fixed just by the presence of Joe Mixon. And I know I'm still in Kyle Tucker's zone with both Joe Mixon and Christian Harris, because defensively, when they're struggling to stop the run and they're playing bend but don't break, but they do come up and make big plays, you got to remember they're out there in nickel all the time. Like, they are light. Their body weights are light in that front seven, because one of your linebackers is Jalen Petrie, and your defensive tackles are not big run stuffing types of dudes. They're kind of tweeners in a lot of regards. So, I mean, Christian Harris just having the ability to play your base defense with three linebackers when teams are lining up with two tight ends or a fullback or anything else like that theoretically should make a big difference. I'm at the point now where I have no idea. People keep asking me, when's Christian Harris coming back? I don't know. And likewise, Joe Mixon, it's an ankle sprain. I'm guessing a high ankle sprain, and he will be back. But he's also at that age where, man, they get injured. So I'd love to get the running game figured out independent of Joe Mixon. And I know the temptation is to say, oh, just let CJ cook, just put him in the gun and let him carve people up. It's not time to abandon it yet, because the potential and the things that they've been able to set up and the deep shots to Nico that they can set up at times, it is all tied to the run game. But Bobby's he's got to get him going better. He's not just the play caller, he's the offensive coordinator, and he's got to get that offensive line playing better than they are right now. Questions, comments, concern. Dwayne Carter. Let me tell you something, Dwayne Carter. I did that damn... What's his name? What's his name from the Bills that was making all those plays in the first half? Was there not a Dwayne somebody? Dwayne Carter. Yeah. So we have Dwayne Carter. Where are you? Dwayne Carter, subscriber to the show. I don't know if you're actually Dwayne Carter, the football player, or not, but my God, you were wreaking havoc early on. It was very impressive. We never need to punt again. Lower penalties. Our offense mysteriously plays better, except in the third quarter. Let's see. I think the run game will be there when we get Mixon back. I agree. But I want it to be the best running game it can be. If they could get the blocking part figured out, just a minor detail. Let CJ call his own plays. CJ, I think there's times where and again, because defenses do such a good job these days, the good defenses of clouding the image at the line of scrimmage. And then the Bills, you could see, I don't know if it showed up on TV or not, but in person, they do a really good job of rotating their coverages at the snap. Like all this deception that you don't have to blitz a lot to just make it really confusing for quarterbacks. And they're making it as hard as they possibly can on them. 90-plus yard field goal isn't out of the question. Yeah, high ankle sprain. I get confused with injuries sometimes, so I'm careful. I'll read it and then forget exactly what it was. So thank you. I don't want it to be. I don't want to look. I've taken the Patriots lightly before. When was it? Was it 2000? Was it 2012 when Jacoby Brissett played? It seems like forever ago. Whenever Jacoby Brissett first played for the Patriots and he tore our asses. I don't want to take the Patriots lightly. Do any of the starters not have penalties? That's a good question. I'll have to do the deep dive research on that. Oh, a little rabbit hole I did go into this morning that made me feel better was, okay, if you look at intended air yards, so advanced next gen set, but last year CJ was like 9.5 intended air yards per throw. They were attacking downfield. This year he's at about 7.5, just about middle of the pack. What's that mean? In 2021, when defenses started doing the same thing that they're doing now to CJ Stroud's faced the most cover two in the entire league. Pat Mahomes went from like 8.7 or 8.8 yards per air attempt down to 7.3 yards per air attempt. And that's where he's stayed since then. He had to become a more efficient quarterback. They had to develop a run game and a screen game to offset some of the things that defenses were doing. And we see the Texans trying to do that. The screen game just is not clicking quite the way we'd like it to. I mean, the best, and other than the throws to Ogunbowale, Nico had to make pretty much all his own yardage today, and but that is what they've got to develop. If teams are going to play CJ this way, it's no sin to be at 7.5 intended air yards. That's exactly what Pat Mahomes does. But you got to be able to offset it with some of the shorter stuff, and that's just where they're not quite there yet. Gosh, I wish Ogunbowale is fun as a receiver. Ogunbowale right now, this is my weird comp. It feels a little bit like Dwight Howard. Remember, you got to Dwight wanted to pretend he was an old school center, so you had to feed him in the post a few times early in the game to keep him happy, and then he'd be your Euro center and run up and down the court and everything. Ogunbowale, I don't think he has the same personality that Dwight Howard does, and I don't think he insists on getting certain touches or anything. But it feels like that because it feels like you're sacrificing, you're feeding him the ball in the post so he can go be a Euro center on third down. But it works for now. So our Dwight Howard strategy for Ogunbowale for now is working. I'm not looking past New England one bit. I don't want to talk about Green Bay. I don't want to talk about how bad Aaron Rodgers looked or anything else like that. It's on to Green Bay, my friends. Please subscribe. I'm gonna cut up D'Amico's press conference and do that hopefully in about a half hour or so, and then I might do a reaction to the highlights. Drank a lot of coffee today.